I went from this to this in a little less than 9 months. Stick around to find out how. Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today we're going to talk about it's actually time to start your carnivore diet. What do you do first day, first week, first couple of weeks? If this is your first time here, I want to say welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for stopping by. I'm glad you're here. You may be wondering, what in the world are we watching here, Bob? Well, sorry, car. Of course, the second I start recording, traffic decides to start zooming by again. What you're watching is me walking. A little less than 9 months ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand up for 2 to 2.5 minutes at a time without severe pain. And now I'm out here walking every day. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. You guys all mean an awful lot to me. And as you can see, the sun's trying to peek through a little bit. Finally, we've had 2.5 days of cold rain here. It's only about 42, 43 degrees right now. It's supposed to slowly start warming up after, well, it clears off tonight. It's supposed to get really cold. Well, really cold from North Carolina, down to about 20 or so. But then it's supposed to slowly start warming up, and by Wednesday, it's supposed to be back in the 70s. So we'll see what happens. It's been a rough couple of days, folks. With the cold and the damp, I'm glad I was a couple of videos ahead knowing that the rain was coming by the long-term forecast, because it's been rough. This cold and damp just seeps into my joints. Now again, not nearly as bad as it was before I started the carnivore diet, but it's been a painful couple of days. I've basically just been sitting in my camper, huddled over my heater for 2 days. Oh. Before we get started on today's topic, I do want to say thank you to Leanne. She donated to the channel. It's been a couple of days ago now, but because my videos are made enough in advance, it's taken till today to get this recorded. Of course, today is Friday. You guys will see this on Saturday. So this will be episode 3. It's finally time to start. So you've gotten rid of all the junk in your pantry. You've decided what you want to try for your carnivore diet. Today's the day you're going to start. One of the things to understand is that we've been taught our entire lives, don't eat that much, it's going to make you fat. So we have been limiting our portion size our entire life. You know, we've been told this, you know, if you want to get control of your health and lose weight and get fit, you have to eat less and move more. You have to restrict your calories. You're starting a new way of life, a new way of eating. You're starting a carb-free existence. As you get started, I don't want you to worry about how much you're eating, how often you're eating, any of that stuff. Right now, anytime you get hungry, make yourself something to eat. Now, if you find yourself getting hungry 4 or 5 times a day, you're going to want to up how much you're eating. Because at most you should be getting hungry 3 times a day. And maybe a little snack or something. And we'll talk about snacks here in a bit. But whatever you've decided your carnivore diet is going to look like, whether it includes, fish and chicken and pork and beef and lamb and sheep and goats, deer meat, camel, whatever it's going to look like. Oh, and the thing I forgot to talk about in deciding what your carnivore diet looks like, you have to make your choices on dairy. I don't think anybody should actually drink milk after about the age of 6 or 7. But if you want some cheese or some cream cheese, that's perfectly okay. Be aware that a lot of that stuff does have a little bit of carb in it, so you want to be careful with how much of that you have. And if it were me starting over again, I would eliminate the cheese to start with, and then that would be one of the first things I added back in, so that I could tell if I was having a reaction to it or not. But the first thing I want you to concentrate on is just getting used to eating this way. Because, we've all probably had bacon and eggs for breakfast many times in our life. That's nothing unusual. But what's unusual is we're not going to have any toast or biscuits or a side dish of fruit or whatever it is. We're just going to have the bacon and eggs. So don't say, well, I usually have 2 fried eggs and 2 strips of bacon, and I'll just eliminate all the rest of it, and that'll be my carnivore breakfast. That's not going to be enough to keep you satiated. Go ahead and start out with 4 fried eggs and 4 strips of bacon. Take the rest of that extra food takes the place of, whatever carbs you were having with it. Me, it was always biscuits. I love biscuits. But not anymore. I heard a really good quote the other day. I don't remember exactly where I heard it. So if this is your quote, I'm sorry I didn't give you credit for it. But I don't remember exactly where I heard it, because it's just one of the many things I've heard in the 2 days I've spent locked up in my camper, hiding from the cold and the wind and the rain. And he said, I can tell you from personal experience, nothing tastes better than healthy feels. Think about that for a minute. But yeah, it's so you got to get started. Have your first meal, and then wait till you get hungry, and then have another meal. Then wait till you get hungry and have another meal. You will eventually figure out what real hunger feels like. To start off with, a lot of us will just eat like we've always eaten, We eat because it's time to eat. We eat because we're bored. And if you open up the fridge and say I'm not super hungry, I'm only going to have one burger patty or 4 or 5 strips of bacon, you're probably not that hungry yet. Wait a little bit. And then when you see that stack of burger patties and you think, oh yeah, I could smash 4 or 5 or 6 of those, now you're ready to eat again. Or you look at the carton of eggs and go, yeah, I could scramble up 6 or 7 of those and make a really good snack out of that. You're ready to eat. But for the first couple of weeks, I don't want you to worry about all that stuff, because it takes time for you to realize whether you're actually hungry or if you're bored. Especially if you're coming from a standard American diet where all the sugar you've been dumping in your body has been crushing your satiety signals. You're not going to know what full feels like. You know, you've heard a lot of talk about intermittent fasting and fasting, and we'll get into that in later videos. This is not the time for that. The first couple weeks is not the time for trying to establish if you're going to be 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day or what you're going to be. The first couple of weeks, just eat when you're hungry. And because you're coming from a standard American diet, you're going to be looking for some snacks in between meals. And I hope you get rid of this very quickly. But for now, go ahead. Make sure you keep, some bacon cooked up in the fridge in a plastic bag or under a cover, however it is you store your food, Tupperware container, whatever. Have some bacon. Have some hamburger patties. Have some boiled eggs already peeled. So if you get hungry and you need a little snack, you can either eat all that stuff cold or pop it in the microwave for a few seconds and have it warmed up a little bit. That's all I want you to concentrate on the first couple of weeks. Eat when you're hungry. The other thing you need to be aware of as you start this diet, the very first thing that's going to happen rather quickly, for me, I lost 29 pounds in the first 29 days. And luckily I'd watched enough Dr. Berry videos and other videos that I knew that not only was that going to be mostly water weight, I suspect there was a little bit of fat that got burned off in there too, but most of it was just inappropriate inflammation, water weight. Well, that water weight that we've been holding on to is where our body stores all of our excess electrolytes: salt, magnesium, potassium. So when you first start this way of eating, you're going to go a lot. And you're going to start peeing out that extra inflammation probably by the start of the second day, if not then by the end of the second day. You're going to start going to the restroom. And with that is going to go all of your backup electrolytes. So for the first week or two, at least, I would have, it doesn't have to be super expensive stuff. The stuff I use is the Keto Chow Daily Minerals. And a lot of people seem to like the Drink Element drink mix, which are both great products, but they're also a little on the expensive side. So just to get you started, especially for that initial surge of lost electrolytes, since you're not going to be fully adapted, you're just switching over, you're starting your carnivore journey, just pick up something at Walmart. And if you don't think you're ready to try unsweetened, go ahead and get something with some kind of artificial sweetener in it. I mean, you're only going to be using it for a little while your body adapts. But making sure you keep your electrolytes up is a good way to hold off what they call the keto flu, where you feel tired, run down. You're going to have some of that. There's no getting around the fact that for the first week or two, you're probably going to feel like crap. But know that this will pass. You will start to adjust. And then one day you'll wake up and go, I actually feel okay today. That's when you know you're on your way. And you're ready for the next steps. We'll cover that in the next video. But yeah, the points for today: don't restrict. Don't worry about how much you're eating. You need to make sure that you get your nutrient level up in your body so that your body can start repairing and it can start getting rid of excess inappropriate inflammation, all the things that it wants to do. And the first step of that is just eat. What I've been saying on this channel since day one: eat the meat, add the salt, drink the water. If you've been using diet sodas, I wouldn't try to cut those out right now. You're already going through a lot, just switching from carbs to fat. So any of that side stuff, like artificial sweeteners, soda, maybe even some artificial sweetener in your coffee. Coffee in general, I wouldn't try to give any of that stuff up the first couple, 3-4 weeks. Just concentrate on eating the right foods, even if you have to eat a lot of them. And make sure you keep your electrolytes up. But eating enough food is one of the big mistakes that people make, because we've been preached at our whole lives about, portion control, reduce your calories. To start with, don't worry about that, If dripping melted butter over top of your steak makes it yummy, then go ahead and do that. Or if you're having, like one of my favorite dishes back when I was doing carnivore before the lion diet, andouille sausage cut up into chunks, start to get it brown, throw some shrimp in there, and then a bunch of butter and some salt. Great meal. Don't worry about how much you're eating. Just make sure everything you put in your mouth is carnivore. And then, in the next video, we'll talk about how to start working your way towards the rest of what you want to do. But to start with, just concentrate on eating as often as you want, as much as you can, so that you don't get, especially if you still have like a package of cookies that your spouse has tucked away in a special place. You're going to get those cravings, and you're going to go looking for where they stashed the cookies. Instead of giving into the cookie, try putting a pinch of salt on your tongue. And when I say salt, I use Redmond's real salt. Some people use Himalayan pink salt. Any real salt is good. I'm assuming most of you know what I mean when I say don't use Umbrella Girl salt or any of the generic salts that come in that kind of roundish container. Because if you look on the label in that roundish container, you will find sugar is either the second or third ingredient on all of those. I know, shocking, but there it is. So don't use that salt. So just to curb your cravings, start with a little pinch of salt on your tongue. If you're still having a craving after 15 or 20 minutes and you feel like you just got to eat something, then go to the fridge and get yourself a couple boiled eggs or a hamburger patty, as Kelly Hogan calls them, meat cookies. Or grab your packet of already cooked bacon and snack on that. Because when you're first starting, snacking's okay because that's what you're used to. We just got to switch it over to the correct snacks. Now, eventually we're going to talk about if you're still snacking, that's a product of not eating enough at your meals. But we'll get into some of that tomorrow. That's what I have to say on this topic for today. I'm trying to keep the videos a little shorter, so if you don't like the music section, go ahead and skip to the end for my final thoughts. If you like the music section, sit back, relax, and cue the music. Okay, cut the music. Thank you. Well, I certainly enjoyed that walk. It felt good to get out there and get a few laps in. My knees are starting to ache a little bit. This cold and damp is just tearing me up. So I'm going to call it there for walking today. But for the first parts of your carnivore journey, remember, portion control is not your friend. Eat as much as you want, as often as you want, to get started, to get your body starting in the healing process, converted to being fat adapted, all of the things that have to happen. You're already changing a lot. So don't worry about, oh, am I eating too much? No, just keep right on eating as much as you want, as often as you want. And trust me, eventually things will calm down. Might take a week or two, might take a month or two. But once you get past that, then you're ready to go on to the next steps. And we'll talk about some of that in tomorrow's video. Don't forget to get out there, be 1% better today, folks. Have a great day. I will see you tomorrow. Okay, I'm glad you guys stuck around. We are going to get the stew meat and we're going to cook it up nice and slow. As you can see, I normally cook things at a lot higher temperature, but I've got it set on 4. Let me turn that on down to 3.5. I've got about 1/3 of a stick of butter in the pan, and when that melts, we will get the meat and some salt in there, cover this up and let it slowly simmer for a good long while. It may take even just a hair longer than normal because I don't think it's thawed all the way through because I got up really late today, but I'll show you that as we move on. Be right back, but with the magic of editing, it'll be like I was never gone. As you can see, the butter is not anywhere close to all the way melted, but I've run it around the bottom of the pan so that every surface on the bottom has some. Oh, let me jack this up a little bit in the back so you can see down into the skillet. So it's going to take that butter a while to get all the way melted. I can go ahead and put the meat in there. You see, it normally would separate a little better than that, but it's still semi-frozen in spots, but that's not going to make a lick of difference for the way we're doing this. Get some of this knocked down. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and add my first round of salt in all of this. And the butter will continue to melt into that. And because there's no lid for this pan, I just take my cutting board, turn it upside down, boom. Now this skillet has a lid. And I'll see you back here in a bit. Okay, now I can hear it kind of doing its thing in there. So as you can see, it's all just kind of swimming in butter, and it's getting close to done all the way through. So now what we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat up to about 7 and leave the lid off of it and let the water that has come out of the meat boil off, and the butter will brown up and soak into the chunks. And it shouldn't be but another 5 or 10 minutes now. I'll be back with you here in just a little bit. Now, as you can see, most of the water is gone. The butter is soaking into the meat. I'm going to let this go for just another couple of minutes as it caramelizes up now that the water's all gone. This should be extremely tasty. I hope you all enjoyed this quick little cooking add-on. Don't forget to get out there, be 1% better. Have a great evening, everybody. I will see you tomorrow.